excited today. It's super exciting. Today's the Help Me Rhonda show, but it's going to be a little bit different. I'm actually the Forbes article came on today. It's going to be a really cool show today, and I even have brought in our guest host, Gavin Dantez, who's actually going to be interviewing me, and there's a reason why. Like, he's going to be helping me get through those moments that I was in when I was getting interviewed for this feature. Because there's a lot of things as entrepreneurs that we go through, and the things that we don't always talk about. Right? I get so used to talking about what I can do for you and how I can help you with a brand and blah 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 blah. And now it's like, wait, there's a reason why we are here, and we've gone through a lot of things. So we're going to talk about that today. So I'm excited, and my family, of course, is here to support. And yeah, we're excited for it. Right?
We're so pumped and excited. It's going to be so awesome. Last night when we were waiting for the article to go live, we're like, Happy New Year's! Like, we were screaming so loud.
Oh my God, it was so funny. And then it didn't work, and I was like, refresh! I was like, oh, something's not working.
So it was really exciting.
It was fun.
And I think it's going to be an awesome interview today, and it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. I cannot.
I know, I can't wait. Are we?
Nice 2-minute warning for the interview.
Oh, okay, do it. Okay, cool. 2-minute warning. Ready, all the way, yeah. So yeah, this is, by the way, our office. This is my, I'm super fortunate because I've gotten this whole floor.
She stole this whole floor.
Thank you. Woo. And this is what we call the blue room, the studio. And this is where we the magic happens. Well, guys, welcome to the Help Me Rhonda show. Today is a really special edition, and I am so excited to have everyone here sharing this moment with me. Today is the day that my Forbes feature article about our entrepreneurial journey was released. And I don't know about you, but wow, I have, since I was very young and became an entrepreneur, I have wanted to be on Forbes magazine. Like, that song that Bruno Mars wrote that says, I want to be in the cover of Forbes magazine. I used to sing that, and I still do. And it happened. Oh my gosh. Like, so it's such a big deal for me to even introduce everyone. I'm getting like excited, more excited, because it means so much. And so instead of me being the one leading the show, because how weird would that be if I was the one leading my own show, talking about my own story, instead of really sharing other stories about sexy branding to you here on this show, I thought I would bring a really dear friend and someone that we've known for quite some time now, probably over 10, 11 years. And it's pretty cool because he was one of the first people that took my very first branding workshop, my first course, because as many of you know, we run the Unstoppable Branding Agency, and my whole life and business has been built on brand development and helping others develop their brand, because I figured out, our family figured out how to create a brand that is so irresistible to those around us and to tell a great story. And sure enough, I had my very first workshop. We're going to talk about this really quickly because it's kind of funny. But I want to introduce Gavin Dantez, dear friend here in Bali, and very close personal friend. So thank you for being on my show, but being the host of my show.
I'm so excited right now because this is like a full circle, like beautiful story, because when I first ran into the Perfect Day video, almost close.
That's how you actually found us as well, wasn't it?
First thing I found was the Perfect Day video, and I watched this video of this family traveling the world with their daughter from 1 year old, and my mind couldn't really understand like why I was never taught this before. That if you can like design your life and write it down. So I wrote out 6 pages of what I wanted my life to look like, and within the next like 5 years, that was my life. So it's unbelievable being here. But it was the branding workshop. 6 months after I found the video, I took that, and it was just like such a game changer. Yeah. However, it's like, first I want to congratulate you on the Forbes after all this time.
Wow, thank you.
But as much as I've learned, because I call you like the queen of branding, like I've learned so much about business and marketing and branding, all these things, and it's beautiful. And I think a lot of other people, they see you as this hard businesswoman. You know,
Yeah.
you go out there, you put on the armor, and you battle because
My Wonder Woman. I don't know if I have my Wonder
Yeah, your
Woman.
Wonder
I'm
Woman,
like,
right?
Like I've been Wonder Woman, like I think every year for Halloween since I've been like 12.
No, and I feel that, and it's been amazing. But then I have conversations with you behind the scenes, and I get to see the true soft side, the one who wants to make such an impact in people's lives based off of what you've gone through and what you've experienced and the adversity overcome, and always seeing that seed of opportunity within it all and the silver lining. So today, that's what I would absolutely love.
Oh boy,
to
here we
bring out.
go. Well, you know, Gavin, thank you. And by the way, guys, you know, Gavin is the founder of a company called Limitless. And you help transform people's lives from inside, right? The DNA from inside of them so they really believe in themselves. And that's also really why I wanted you to be here, because you can really help me, I know, tap into those behind the scenes conversations. I don't know why it's hard sometimes for us to talk about those kind of things in front of people, right? So thank you.
Yeah,
being here
you
and
know,
helping
sometimes we
support.
feel like we have to be the leader in the front, and we feel like we have to lead through like looking strong, where sometimes what we need is to bring out the vulnerability to connect. So people realize, wow, this is just a normal person who decided to become extraordinary.
Yeah.
Right? But it wasn't always just sitting there, you know, like right there, like handed to you. It's like it came over time, overcoming all of the challenges, developing yourself, doing whatever you could, and then going out and sharing that message, trying to do it fearlessly, even though behind the scenes, the self-doubt is there, the fear is there, all of that, but it may not look like that because we put on that hardened shell, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to do today is I want to dive into this story, and I want to understand where these things happened. Like, what were all those moments that was like a complete game changer? The moments that just like sometimes had you on your knees crying, sometimes had you feeling like the most powerful person in the world, but I want to really know who is the real Rhonda Swan. So that's what I want to do today. So thank you so much for allowing me to do this interview with you today and bring it out.
Excited.
So let's go back to the beginning, back with your family and your father. This is a huge part in the article, and you don't get enough time to explain it as deep as you would like,
Yeah.
but I would love to dive into that. How did that shape you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like I wrote this book, and then we did the article, and it's hard to talk about it, right? Because my family's all still alive, right? My mom's amazing, but she was really, really young when she had me, and you know, my dad was a roller coaster drug addict, right? Like back in the 70s, I was born in 73, and he was, you know, an up and down kind of wild guy. And my mom, thank goodness, was so innocent, naive, and young, and she realized it was not a good life for us. But you know, like it's crazy. Like I don't really tell them that often, but you know, being really young, here I am going shopping, and my dad would steal meat and stick it under my baby carriage, and my mom let my mom get arrested and go to jail. Like, and I'm, you know, years under a year old, and like these things kept happening, and you know, it's like there was so many moments where when my mom divorced my father, and you know, he was still in this drug roller coaster, but they did a few things. They never actually made me not like him. They never said anything bad. They still allowed me to see him, but what happened is I was able to shape my own decisions. But I got really scared because as I got older, so here's, you know, I'm growing up, this drug addict father. My mom divorces him when I was 3 and gets remarried when I'm 5. And my dad became like our bold structure in the family. He was like the one that was really controlled. He was a Detroit fireman. Like our family finally had a bit of structure. But I still had this underlooming fear because my dad was a drug addict, and a deep one. Like even every, you know, it would be like, I'm coming to pick you up, those kind of normal things. And then he just doesn't show. And then here I am, like 6, 7, 8, 9, wondering where he is. And I'm calling police, you know, stations. I'm, you know, calling bars. I'm getting calls from like dirty, yucky hotels because he had called me from there, and then he didn't pay his bill. And then they're like asking me, and here I'm like 10, 12 years old, getting these stories, like knowing that my father is a drug addict. He's, you know, just doing wild, derelict things. So I only share that because it was part of my story for a long time, but I share it because what I realized growing up and why I became so like really structured, because I was afraid I was going to be like that. You know, like when you're a kid, you don't realize it until you get older, that you're actually afraid that you're going to be that way. So I, started to make a little bit more of a shift and be a lot more controlled in what I did. But that didn't really serve me as well, I realized as I got older.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because like as humans, a lot of times we will just move away from pain.
Yeah.
So that motivation to not be like that sometimes drives us more than the motivation to live this like amazing life. And then we realize that down the road that that's what shaped us. So what was that pain? Like, I understand, like, he was a drug, you're getting these calls, but what did it feel like? Was it a feeling of powerlessness? Was it a feeling of, what really was it?
Yeah, I mean, well, growing up, here's my mom really, really young, and so she's, getting remarried, and I remember being such a young person and always kind of feeling like I had to be the one that was like the responsible one. Like I'm taking care of my mom because I remember her crying and all these difficult things. And I remember always being the one that was just in control. And so as a kid, I literally grew up just being the one that was in control. I wanted to be like the responsible one because I didn't have really responsible parents. My father was totally irresponsible. My mom wasn't trying to be, but she was just so young. And so it was like I kind of grew into that space of being afraid that I could possibly be like that, right? So I had to start shifting, and I wanted to make my mom feel, it's okay, I'm okay. Because I remember her crying and difficult times. And then, so I always wanted to be the one that was like, it's going to be okay. And I'm the one that's helping. But here I am, I'm 5'3", 5'6", 7", I'm yet little, And so I think when we grow up that way, especially when I saw, I had some fears and some inadequacies. So here I am trying to be the one that's in control. And, I became an athlete as going into high school and realized that if I want to dive into something I'm really good at, because I was seeing all these people, these other kids screwing off, right? They're doing drugs or drinking. And here you are getting tempted as a young person. I'm like, I could easily go down that track. So instead I went completely opposite, right? And went completely controlled, and perfectionism is what I leaned into. And so that was my way of almost like protecting the way people saw me. And that's why it's so hard for me today. I've never really been able to get vulnerable because I've never given myself the permission or gotten the permission to do it, because I always just showed up. And I remember people going, oh, Rhonda wouldn't do that, because I put on this armor of being so together. But deep inside, I was feeling really hollow inside. Like I had so many self-worth issues where people go, oh my God, she was so confident, right? Because I was constantly self-doubting. But what I realized is that I think everyone goes through that, right? So now as an adult, 46, almost 47 years old, I'm like, wow, the stories that we tell ourselves, stories that I was probably telling myself, I put so much more pressure on myself because I was never, ever able to talk about how I felt.
And this is one of the parts in the entrepreneurial journey that is very under talked about.
Yeah.
Because we like to wear the mask because we want people to see that we are strong and that we can do it. And we don't want anyone to be scared that maybe we don't have it, especially at those times. So sometimes we isolate ourselves, and everyone we talk to sees this version of us, which is that version of us too. Yeah. But they miss that other side of us, and it can be very lonely. Yeah. And then we have these kind of conversations with ourselves, and we get very honest with ourselves in the mirror when we're like behind the scenes. But then in front of people, we're like, no, this is how to do marketing, this is how to do brand, and we go into that state. And sometimes
it's that imposter syndrome, right, that they talk about so often.
And then sometimes people are like, I could never be like that person, because they're the ones in the mirror looking, not realizing that we're going through the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
I had this imposter syndrome, thing, and I didn't even, when it was brought up, people start talking about, I'm like, that is not me. I don't have any of that stuff. But when you actually look at what we do, and especially as entrepreneurs, or when you become a parent, right? Or I didn't want my my mom to know that I was going through all this difficult time. I didn't want her to know because I was protecting her.
Yes, you didn't want her to feel scared.
Scared for me. Yeah. But all along, here I am going, are you really going to be this bodybuilder? I had so much body doubt and shame. Like here I had a perfect figure, right? I played softball for the women's US team. I was a bodybuilder. I was a runner. I mean, I had 6% body fat, but that came at a big cost, because when you're that way, then all of a sudden everyone expects you to be that way. then what happened? I couldn't, as I get older in my 20s, then I'm getting in my late 20s, early 30s, and I couldn't keep my body that way. But I wasn't told that no one can. I just thought I had to be the best. So I really struggled for, and I've never said this in public, I struggled for over 10 years with an eating disorder of trying to maintain perfectionism because that's what I thought people wanted from me. But that was my own story. I know that now. But back then, I really think I just wanted love. I wanted space to be okay, to just let it down and to cry or to say I'm afraid. And I never really had that because I was always just showing up for everyone else. And I didn't want my parents, here I went to university and then I got this job. I didn't want my parents to be afraid that I was not okay because I can do it. Rhonda can do everything. Rhonda can do everything. But deep inside, Rhonda's going, can I do everything? Can I continue to do everything?
Wow, you really nailed something that triggered something inside of me, which is you're talking about perfectionism. And perfectionism seems like it's coming from all these expectations that we feel like we have from everybody else. And we try to live up to that. And it causes so much stress and anxiety because if we don't live up to it, we feel like we're not enough. So,
or we won't be wanted, or we're not deserving of love.
Sometimes not realizing that sometimes the way to connect and feel that is by doing the opposite. And I want you to take me through some of that transformation and some of the times where you were able to really see this within yourself and see the fact that, oh my, this is years and years and years of me not being able to express what's really going on behind the scenes. And how does that feel? Because I know everyone watching, I know in the entrepreneurial journey, everybody goes through it. Maybe there's that 1.001% of person who has none of it, but we all go through that. So how is it when you're going through this state of trying to live up to these expectations? What was it doing to you physically? How was it draining you mentally, spiritually, emotionally?
Yeah, I mean, I got really obsessed, right? So here's my fears of that I have a drug addict father who's obviously addicted personality. And I knew I have addictive personality, right? So I went so hard in addiction to working out, to eating well, to being the best facade for everyone. So then here I couldn't be a real human. I literally would go out with people. I couldn't enjoy myself because I would be counting calories or every morsel. People would be picking up peanuts and I'd be envying their life because they were sitting there just having a good time. And I'm counting calories, looking at this. And I'm like, I am just not even a real human being, right? And it sucked. So then, of course, what would I do? I would go home by myself and hide, and I would freaking chow down pizza and food and just watch shows and do something that people would never expect me to do, right? But then I was guilty. So then I go harder the next day, right? So
it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle. And so, and then I meet my husband. So I moved to California. I get moved to California with my job. I mean, I was, I have an MBA, I really just wanted to be this big corporate executive. And I got that, right? Because I learned how to get what I wanted and I just worked really hard at it and I knew how to get it, but it doesn't have to be such a hard struggle that I had. I was always bulldozing everything. Whereas I would have relaxed a bit and just watched what was going on around me. I think life would have been a little easier.
And let's go a little bit deeper into that because talk about it in the article of visualizing, creating that life.
Yeah.
Now, was there moments where you were visualizing this life where you were thinking, is this really what I want? Or was it more kind of this superficial, look at how I'm going to look if I have this amazing job and, all of this money and all of these things. What was it then? Because there was a huge shift that happened in 2008, which we will get to. But what was that like? So you're I want to visualize this. I'm going to go get this goal. Was it an empty goal? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, I realized too, what, at that time, my family, my heritage is actually American Indian. And, we've got some really deep spiritual beliefs inside of our family. And my great-great-grandmother used to say, believe in yourself. You can have and do everything. Now, parents say that to all their kids, but I actually really started to believe it. I needed something to hold on to. So I started learning how powerful I was when I really focused on what I wanted. Being an athlete, you learn peak performance, you learn how to get what you want in visualization. So I started visualizing what I really wanted my life to look like what it was going to look like. And it was crazy because here I said, I'm going to move to California. I'm going to have this. And I literally get a job to California. I mean, I was a hustler. I made sure that I got the right interviews, the right place. But I didn't visualize the fact that I would be surfing in the water 22 years ago, and I would meet my husband, who's now my soulmate. Mm-hmm. So I left softball behind completely. Like I was that person. Like I wanted to leave that life behind and start a new life. And I met Brian in the water. And you know, if anyone knows our story, you know my husband. Like he's such a deep, loving spirit. And here I'm like hard, right? And he's such a fun guy. So I'm like, meet this guy surfing in the water. We literally met in the water. And he's just like, hey, how you doing? And he's all kind of goofy. And I'm like just trying to be the best surfer, like, right? And so I had this parallel, like this virtual world of like this person that I just really envied, but I didn't want to talk to because he was just too goofy and too fun, right? But then obviously we started to connect, and I was so enamored by his free spirit and the love that he had for life. Now I was getting everything I wanted, but I was going for everything I wanted. So it became a job. Everything I've done has been like hard. And he was just like so in love with life and fun. And he's a robotics engineer, but we called him, you know, like he was like the goofy guy all the time. And that was part of my drive, or not even a drive, my desire to be able to live that way. So your question is like, how did that change? What came up for me is I found an exact mirror to what I wanted life to be like. Wow. And then I started to see through him that life can actually be great and it can be fun and relaxing and loving because he was so much love, you know? And so I learned to really start tapping into that because I found someone that was doing it that supported me into who I was.
Wow, you know, and it's so interesting with kind of like the science and the art of life. Like I'd say the science of life is like kind of like the robotic, just get the goal. You know, you set it up and you structure it and you just get it. Yeah. And then the art is where you can sit there and like really enjoy the sunset and not even think about those goals. And it's like, how do you bring those things together? Which is what I was so impressed when I saw the Perfect Day video, because it was both. It was like this thing where it's like, wow, you can set up your life, but it can be a have-it-all life. You can have everything together instead of compartmentalizing little goals and then realizing, wow, most of my life is not what I want. I'm reaching all these goals, but like,
well, that's where the shift really happened. So I meet Brian, and then all of a sudden I go into corporate and I realize everything that I thought I wanted was not what I wanted. Wow, okay. That was like 10 years into it. And because many people watch this, but I watched a woman put a brand new baby in daycare, and I hadn't even had Hanalei yet. And I'm like, whoa, I am not doing that. So here I am, corporate executive. Brian and I bought multiple houses at this time. We've already, been married. He's a robotics engineer. And I come home and I go, I am not going to put a child in daycare. He's like, what? We have a 5-bedroom house. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, I'm going to figure this thing out.
I'm getting chills.
Right? And so I watched the interview with Steve Jobs, and he's like, get on the internet, start figuring it out. And that's what I did. I mean, so then here we're living this, good life. I like let all that, pain and struggle go of trying to be someone for someone else. And I'm like, I'm going to create this new life with this new baby now. I want a baby. I want to do this. And that's what we did. I mean, we tapped deeply in. And that's kind of why this is so cool where we are in our entrepreneurial journey, because all those fears come into that, right? So I quit corporate. I retire Brian within a year, replace our income. I'm like, I'm going back to my hardness again, right? I'm going back to that again. So I ebb and flow, right? Is what life is and what we all, I think, go through as entrepreneurs. And like, this is the point where there's no internet, no social media, right? No social media at all. I'm calling people. I go from being a corporate executive for a huge company, one of the largest in the world, to now making phone calls, trying to introduce people to online business world. And Brian's like, are you nuts? What's wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? You have an MBA. I'm like, no, because I had a vision and a vow bigger than his fears, right? And I think that's the important piece of like visualizing, and why that helped me get through these ebb and flows. But it didn't mean that, that I was having fears and doubts all the time. I just realized that the things that I've already gone through, all those thoughts that I was trying to be in front of someone else and be better or impress them, was all I was really trying to do was impress myself. So as I got older, I owned that, right? And then at that moment, I just said, I'm building this business. I'm building it. And sure enough, it happened, right? I was able to retire Brian, myself, Hanalei came. And then we had this big, massive growth of income, invested massively. And then 07 and 08, we literally lost everything again. So like, here's this life. I thought we were starting our entrepreneur journey with power. Instead, we lost it all in 07, 08. I think that's why this conversation, why this article came out at the right time, because people are freaking out right now. And to know that you can make it through, but if you have the right mind. And that's, I think, where the power came from. Brian and I were so connected and so really believe in the same beliefs because we had created the perfect day. We really personal development, dove deeply into personal development, knew what we wanted and made bold decisions based on that. And even though at that time was the most disastrous time we thought was ever going to happen to us in our life, it became the biggest reward because here now, Hanalei gets born. I think that this world that I'm building for her, it's gone. And then now I'm again looking in the mirror going, who are you? Wait, you're not going to be this mother you thought you were going to be for this child. But little did I know, the reason why we lost everything was so I could be the real person again. I got raw again. Like I got totally stripped down raw to really be the mother that she needed, which didn't have the cars, the Mercedes, the house on the hill. It was a real human being with a baby in her arms. And I went, wow, Brian, what's in our bank account does not dictate who we are as parents and who we can be for the world. And that's really where this brand and all this growth has come from in our lives because we quit. You know, we sold everything. And that's when we started to travel. And we did that. We started to travel 12 years ago now. We've been on the road for 12 years. Our daughter, Hanalei, has been to like 52 plus countries, 6 continents. But all along, we're developing this story and this brand. And I've been building my company that way so that I could show others, like, guys, you can literally take really difficult times, you leverage all those stories you told yourself as you were younger and make them into your power and to own them and to be vulnerable about them and to help other people shift their life. And I think that's the message and the story that I really want to convey and bring out to everyone and why I'm just so excited to share with everyone not only the story and but more importantly, to really give people inspiration.
It's so beautiful. And we're going to get into your book and and your new book coming out shortly. But there's one thing.
How are we doing on time, team? Okay.
There's one thing that I wanted to allow everybody else to experience that you've talked to me a lot about, which is going through these times when you shifted and you were this perfectionist, corporate, all these things, to then doing something completely different to what people were doing, right? Becoming one of the first digital nomad family, doing stuff that like, what, you're not putting Hanalei through school, you're not a daycare, you're taking her traveling. And the amount of backlash you received going in this direction, which a lot of people are probably feeling right now as everything is changing, but at the same time, they're like, I don't know if I can just completely change my identity or go down this path or change. What are people going to think about me? How did you overcome this? Because it was a lot, right? And it's still to this day, there are people who still won't talk to you or friends and, and this is really hard.
Well, it was so out there, it was so out there because back then, like we were quitting. We had already quit our jobs, which they thought we were crazy. And then now we decide with a brand new baby to leave with $12,862 left to our name with a vision and a vow to never put a baby in daycare with no freaking plan. Like we had no idea because the only thing that we had to measure was the 4-hour work week. Tim Ferriss is like, if you just set up some structures, you can actually leave for like 30 days and run a business. We're like, all right, our business is already online. We were already starting to figure that part out. And we were the first people that were actually working with people and clients on virtually. Like we were training people that was okay to do. So when we decided to leave, it was like people go, guys, all right, you had another chance. You lost everything. Go to your jobs. This thing didn't work out, right? It didn't work out. And we looked at each other. We're like, no way. We have a vow to never put this baby in daycare. We're going for it. And so when we left, that was a struggle, right? And it really was. But we had to keep our heads so straight because there was no digital nomad name. No one knew it. It was so unconventional. And we got a baby. And here we are just starting to travel around the world, trying to run this business online, getting people, we're doing, calling people and doing events and meeting different people in different places. And like all of a sudden people started to go, whoa, this is actually kind of real. But there's still a very small amount of people that believed it was real. Yeah. Still people, I think they're starting to see it now. that it can be a real life.
Now everything is being almost forced into this. Back then, a lot of it was out of like a desire for freedom, and now it's like, well, now we have to learn how to do this to even be safe in this new world.
Yeah.
And everything's changing so quickly, but we also have to be able to do this inner work and be able to be okay with going down a path, even though other people might think you're crazy. Even though but if it's really that internal desire that you really want this, like you guys did, you never wanted to see Hannah Leigh go through daycare.
But it was really scary. I mean, there were certain times, right, where we're like, all right, as long as we got this baby with us and it's our love, right, together, that's why we became so connected and unstoppable family, because we knew that now we call it like the three-legged table. That's what we called it. Because on a four-legged table, one leg can be off and it can wibble and wobble, but it doesn't fall down. But three legs on a table, one leg's off, boom, you're flat on your face. So we started to realize that if we had a support system like each other, we could really rely on each other. So, that's how we were able to get through it. There was times like, money wasn't there and we had no one to fall back on because our friends thought we were crazy. Our family totally thought we were crazy, right? And they didn't have the monetary support. And, we're buying avocados and calling them avocado bowls. And Hannah Leigh, that's all she really ate because they were great for her. But we also didn't have a lot of money to buy anything, right? We're in Mexico, rice and avocados. Like, we were living the life that we knew we needed to live and knowing that none of the things were going to make us who we were. And I think that's actually what made people love and respect us so much more, because we weren't showcasing. Yeah, it's nice to have this stuff now, but man, we are so grateful and so humble that everything that we do have now. And I think that's why
I love this so much, because I know you guys deep now, and I know you could have none of this and still be so happy because you've been following what you truly desire in life, and you're not living somebody else's life. You're not living based off somebody else's expectations anymore. It's you see the value that you've gotten in your life from the things you've learned, and you want to spread that to as many people as possible. And it's so beautiful with all of this stuff.
I know, this is so cool.
This is again, 12 years, 13 years of going through this entrepreneurial journey to finally get recognized for that story.
Yeah, that does feel good, and it's hard to really push and promote yourself. I'm owning this, because we've worked so freaking hard for it and been on the forefront. And I think people that are out there too, if they can really see, keep showing up, keep just being yourself and giving from as much as you possibly can. Teach people what you learn and know. And that's really why I love, doing what we do now is we help people see in themselves what they don't see in themselves, and help them take it and bring it into life. And I think that's now what the world needs more than ever. The world needs to really see, especially women, we're powerful. There's a rise. You and I were having this conversation the other night. There's a rise of feminine, energy, and the divine feminine is rising. And same thing with the men. Men are really realizing that I don't have to be this macho guy anymore. This is, let me show up for you. And I don't either have to be the woman that's CEO hardcore. We can actually be soft and driven and connect with each other and allow each other to balance. And I do love, that's what I loved about the relationship that I've got with Brian. We're balanced in that way. We're both Geminis. We both got this yin and yang kind of deal going on. And I think that's important to be able to see. And we're writing a book this year on the DNA of the feminine leader, right? Designed to lead. Because I think more than ever, I don't want women to think they have to go through it as hard as it was for me. It can be so much easier just to take ownership of who you are. But no, it's not about being a victim. It's about showing up for your kids because they watch us. They watch everything that we do. I want Hannah Leigh to see, wow, my mom was powerful, but she still was giving and loving and caring. But man, it didn't matter what was going on. She was going for it. And I fail a lot. That's the part that people don't see. Fail daily, clearly daily, right? And so I think that's really where I want the world to see the realness, right? And the power behind this. This isn't about me going, yay, look what I did. It's about going, wow, look what I get to share with others. I get to share this story because I've gone through it, and I want to help other people go through something similar, especially right now when this world needs to know you're going to get through it. It is going to be okay. Put the blinders on, stop listening to the noise, because we couldn't listen to the noise. And even when I was building this business, it was hard, right? I couldn't listen to the noise. And so, yeah, that's really where I want to go with it. But I think we need to kind of wrap it up because I'm getting some team noise. I want to keep going, and hopefully everyone's really enjoying this interview because I am, and I know we'll continue down this track a bit more, but I wanted to share with everyone what we're doing and why I think this story needs to be shared is I decided that, throughout this, I've developed not only my courses, but a methodology and ways to develop a brand, way to launch it, way to put things together and launch it with the world. That's how we've done what we've done. So I'm actually doing a big contest. I'm calling it the Forbes Viral Contest Giveaway. And I'm giving away $28,500 in prizes. Like literally some of my best work. Unstoppable Branding Agency. We're doing a brand makeover for someone. My best course that I've built, and I run this 2 Comma Club award from this course alone. And I'm giving away all these prizes to help, if people are willing to help me share this message, to share this article, then I want to give back to you and help you learn more about what we've done. So this is what it is, the viral contest. I'm going to give you guys some instructions on what we need to do. So we've got the show running today. You can certainly leverage this show, but there's also in the notes down below, if they haven't been placed here, is you're going to not only there's a post that needs to be dropped that it's in the comments. You're going to click on that original post, and inside that post, it's going to take you to either just sharing this and tagging 3 people. Every single person that does that is going to get my newest book, my 5 Steps to Building an Unstoppable Brand, and our new Brand 2020 report, how to leverage yourself as a brand. But then those of you that actually go to UBA links, and you go to UBA links, I actually have instructions on how you can participate in the big $28,000 contest. We're going to draw on May 1st all of the winners. There's over 75 winners that are going to win all of these top prizes. And all along the way, you guys are going to keep going. So that means, please, if you're moved, share this. Invite other people to read this article. But the most important piece is you got to click on the article. You actually need to open and read that article. Otherwise, it doesn't count, because we're looking to help create this and give this more virility to this article so that more and more people can share the message. So guys, thank you, Gavin, so much.
I want to thank you.
Thank you for being here.
I want to thank you for, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So you've made such an impact on my life and thousands of others, and it's just so amazing that it's finally coming to this point where you're being fully recognized for this. And I'm saying that from a place of you deserve to be recognized for this. So I want to thank you again.
Thank you so much. And guys, you know how I always leave things. I'll leave you with one thing. If you're going to create a brand, create a sexy brand. And if you're going to be anything, be unstoppable! We'll see you guys in the next show. Woo! Thank you. Awesome. Brand awareness is key in today's modern digital era. And with the rapid growth of social media platforms and the simplicity for all brands to compete on the same playing field, business owners have to start getting creative with how their brand message reaches their clients and customers. Hi, I'm Rhonda Swan, the CEO and founder of the Unstoppable Branding Agency and the Sexy Brand Building Formula programs, where we help our clients create a sexy brand through strategic brand marketing, image, and film. I believe every small business owner deserves to stand out in a sea of marketing messages and make their competition irrelevant with the right brand image, brand message, and strategy. If your brand and marketing is well thought out, but design and images look terrible, no one will take your business seriously. If your design is beautiful, but your marketing message isn't planned out so strategically, it will fall flat on its face. That's where our team comes in. We help our clients restructure their brand image with photo shoots and create a winning combination of strategic brand building through impeccable design and great storytelling through film. The world of business has changed. Because of social media, customers and clients are looking for transparency and connection. A business owner can no longer hide behind a website or rely on their services to attract the perfect client. They want realness, and they want to see the truth behind the brand. As you can tell, we do things differently. And if that excites you, I want to invite you to book a consultation or join us at our upcoming VIP branding retreat and let us help you turn your brand into a sexy, profit-making machine.